yesterday was another important milestone on what I like to call crypto's road to boring, where what was once risky and exotic becomes, well, just another part of everyday life. Today, we're talking about that in the context of stablecoins, as the original dollar reserve-backed token, Tether, announced that they no longer hold any reserves in what's known as commercial paper or unsecured debt attached to specific companies. When we first got a look at how Tether managed their money, which was many years after they got started with the project, folks were somewhat shocked to see that they'd invested a vast majority of their funds in that way, and the company has been drawing down those balances pretty aggressively ever since. In a blog post published yesterday, the company announced that it now held U.S. Treasuries in the place of commercial paper, which honestly, with interest rates running as high as they are, makes a lot of sense. But it is still kind of hilarious to me that, literally tens of billions of dollars worth of government debt is now financed by a stablecoin company, which the U.S. itself doesn't really seem to like very much. Well, we've been on this path for a while, and U.S. Treasuries now account for more than half of Tether's reserves. What's your thinking on that? And then also, if you've got any ideas, I'm kind of looking for my next angle. Where do you think the road to boring is going to take us after this?
The road to boring. We'll have to find out. I love how you're tracking it, though. The one thing I do want to bring up is just like demystifying stable coins, right? Why do stable coins have a backing, and what do they choose to back them with? And traditionally, they've used sometimes other stable coins, where they've used commercial paper. They've used anything that allows them to create some sort of yield. Stablecoin issuer like Tether, USDC, Paxos, they want to take money in their doors, and then they want to get interest on top of that by lending out to the market. And they want to find something that gives you a little bit of interest so that you can earn some money, but not too much risk so that you just lose the money entirely. And that's when this report came out about Tether a few years ago about them using commercial paper. People are a little bit worried because they're like, well, that's short-term unsecured debt from a company. And what could happen if that company can't pay up that debt? Well, then your Tether is backed by nothing. And Tether, to its point, said, no, this is pretty standard. A lot of people use commercial paper to back things, and it makes sense. I think it did spook some people. However, now what we're seeing is they're turning over to U.S. Treasuries. And the rationale for that, as much as Tether likes to say that it's because they want to make it more secure or whatnot, I think it's because they're chasing the yield. And U.S. Treasuries are going up right now. Ever since we've seen interest rates go up, U.S. Treasuries have been following them. They're up to about 3%. That's versus anything else in the crypto market. You can't really get anything else. And to prove that point, look at MakerDAO. They're actually trying to add $500 million worth of US Treasuries into their balance sheets at the same time while they're trying to divest from things like USDC. Why? Well, you can't really get a yield on USDC right now. If you're trying to put USDC out for a loan on something like Aave or another DeFi protocol, you're getting less than 1% interest back on that. So they're going to turn more and more to USTs, get that 3% interest rate. And that's where the road to boring is, I think, really, Adam. It's, hey, we're going to have this little marginal increase in interest rates, and people are just going to be chasing after those. But I'm going to throw it over to Jen and get your take on the story.
Yeah, so I think with Terra Luna, stablecoins lost a lot of trust. And I know that that Terra Luna is a different product than this. It was backed by an algorithm. This is not. But I think that when it comes to the mainstream and how regulators are looking at stablecoins, this is just, in Tether's best interest to blast this news everywhere. I think I want to point to a tweet. I don't think we have it to pull up, but Tether CTO Paolo Arduino tweeted yesterday, proved to be the only company to be able to pay $7 billion in 48 hours. That's 10% of reserves, and $20 billion, which is 25% of the reserves, in 30 days. Ask your bank or other stable coins if they can do that. I loved reading that little dig to banks. And I think that, Tether keeps trucking along. This is definitely a road to boring story. And Adam, you said you wanted a graphic for this segment. I imagine it as the Price is Right mountain, right? And you are like picking away at the road to boring. And when we finally get there, you fall off of the cliff because we have no more boring stories to talk about. Hopefully Control can make that
the metaphor.
us.
That's too exciting. That graphic is too exciting for the road to boring. The road to boring is just flat.
Too exciting.
Boring.
It's the opposite. Along. It's going down and then it's just flat at the end of it, right?
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah, I don't know. It is funny to see Tether go through this whole image rehabilitation process. Tether now is we're transparent, we're good, No commercial paper. It's crazy. It's baffling. Anyone who was here in like, I don't know,
now.
2017, 2018, the amount of Tether FUD out there was crazy. And now it's like, hey, we're solid, upstanding citizens. And Paolo is out here thumping his chest, and hey, got to give it to him. But, you know, it's tough. It's tough at the same time. So anyway, interesting to see this materialize. Certainly, yeah, this race for transparency and race for solid reserves backing some of the dollar-backed stablecoins in the market. Not unique to Tether, certainly also the case with USDC.